Bonjour, Dominique,
Bonjour.
and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You have been a face around the Canadian touring car scene for quite a few years, but this year has been a little bit different because you have changed your focus and you are basically running the series.
Yes. Yes, that is true. It actually started the year before that because we were working on the Shannonville deal and we knew it was going to close. So we didn't know, we were hoping for it to close. So in preparation of that, I took over slowly the CTCC show, if we want to say that. And so I took over. The first year it was mainly the same business as usual. The only difference is we tried to involve more TCR cars 2 years ago. That worked out pretty well. We had a good turnout. TCR is really a good setup. Like it's a good style. There's a momentum to it. It's worldwide. Worldwide. Pardon me. So it's really the way to go in North America these days. And we were trying it out, see what the demand is, what the response was, and it worked out pretty well. So this year, even though it was a COVID year, we started with, okay, let's go, guys. We want to do something. Everybody has partners, sponsors. Racing is a partnership with your sponsors, with the driver, the teams, the crews. It's a big family. If you stop completely, some links could get broken. Anyway, that was my philosophy. I thought we needed to do something, even though if it was going to be a very small season. We only had 3 events. At the time that we wanted to put the schedule together, it was full COVID, and Quebec was not available at that time. GP3R just pulled away. All those events in Quebec were actually shut down. So we decided to stay in Ontario and go with it and see what happens. And actually we had a good turnout. We had 11 TCR cars, which was absolutely amazing. They stayed for the whole season with the 3 events, and we had a super good championship. Racing was great. Zachary won the championship. Zachary Vanier, young guy, good driver, great team behind it. He was
As a rookie as well.
As a rookie, that was unbelievable. He did a great job. And so the season turned out to be a pretty good season, even in COVID. As for next year, I'm working on it. It's not easy. I've reached out to everybody, what to plan for the schedule for 2021. It is not easy because we don't know yet. It's like we have that experience of shutting down a few events. So now everybody is like, okay, let's take our time before, doing anything or publishing anything. So maybe the schedule will take a little bit more time than usual to be published, but we'll get through it, and I'm pretty sure we'll get a good season next year.
But I think what a lot of it will be that even the tracks will not, other than your own, of course, will not be wanting to turn around and actually we're going to give you this date, because they don't know what's going on. Absolutely. Canadian Tire Motorsport Park traditionally has weekends where the Pirelli guys come in and then the IMSA guys come in. But if they're not going to be able to cross the border, I'm sure they would love if we could put something on May 2-4, the traditional weekend, that they would love to have you there at those events. So I think that it's not only going to be you, it's going to be the tracks that it's also going to make it a little difficult to...
Yes, I agree. And it is difficult for them, but if there is a way, when there's something negative, and that's my way of seeing things. When there's something very negative, there's always a positive counterpart. What I see, and maybe I'm too... it's wishful thinking, maybe, I don't know. I would love that if some series cannot cross the border. Let's say, can we have a Canadian only event? There's enough Canadian series, all types of series. We could do a pretty good show, and that could be something fantastic to do for all those Canadian drivers. We have extremely good Canadian drivers, and in my opinion, they're not featured enough. We are not featured enough in those events. That could be the year where the Canadian series have their 15 minutes of fame. Who knows?
Like when I was talking to John earlier, we were talking, or actually I think I was talking to you, and we were talking about the old Formula Ford 2000, where Jimmy Vasser and there was Matt Vassar, Maxwell, and it was the Export A series, and it was a series that people wanted to come from all over. I believe Mark Miller even did it, and it's that type of series back in Canada would be huge, and I think it would help getting, I think that it's difficult for Canadians to get sponsorship if they're going to be racing in the States. So unless it's a multinational company, what benefit are they going to get? So, to have something big, that could be, it could be that this is one of these things that has happened and it's for a reason. We don't know what the reason is, and then all of a sudden, all good things start happening and coming together, and all of a sudden we've got something that is just so good, the interesting thing I saw was because of the different events, the only event of yours I managed to come to was the one here, and it was the same weekend as the Canadian CASC, which I was here with Jim Houghton, and I bumped into Al Billis. Now, I don't know if you know who Al is, but his grandfather was one of the two gentlemen that started the Canadian Tire Company. And Al has been a drag racer all of his life. His father owned the Indy car that Jacques Villeneuve Sr., as they call him, was the first Canadian to win an IndyCar race. And here was Al in a Cayman GT4 out on Shannonville having a blast. Yeah. And I think getting back to us having a blast is part of what this year was also about, because everybody was so grateful to get out racing.
Absolutely.
It was fun.
Yeah. That was the goal. When we decided to go ahead with the schedule, it was because we thought, hey, everybody wants to go on the track. And can we do it? Yes, we can. So let's do it. And having events here we started with planning an event here because it was easy. We know how to put together a schedule, so that was easy to do. And then we got in touch with the other venues that were were not on us on our calendar already. Like Calabogie was on our calendar, and I just called them and I said, "Are you still running? Are you still putting on a show? And if you are, okay, we'll be there." They said, "Yes, we do." So of course Porsche wasn't there because of COVID, and so events got restructured. But it happened because people wanted to go. They wanted to do something. And some also, out of respect for their partners and out of respect for our partners also, we needed to be out there, and do something and expose their brands no matter what, and try to do something. There's always something to do when we can get creative. I'm pretty sure there's always something to do.
Now, your shirt says race events.
Yes.
Explain that to us a little bit.
So it goes with when we did a purchase of Shannonville. Shannonville actually had two companies, Shannonville Motorsport Park, but there's also Race Events. Race Events owned a motorcycle racing series, and that was the end of it. So what we decided to do is take those two companies, and because we're in it together, we said, okay, John will manage the racetrack. And because I was involved in the series no matter what, I took over managing the series. So I'm the manager of a race event, the general manager who manages the series. So I have a motorcycle series that's called Super Series and CTCC. And eventually a little bit more. We're trying to elevate that brand a little bit more.
And going back to, you mentioned a lot of the TCR cars. Do you see the GT4 cars that run down in the States? Do you see more of them coming and racing?
Yes, well, what we tried to do, or what we started to do in CTCC, we had multiple classes before. And when TCR got bigger than we expected, and it's all good, we also decided that we would add or convert our GT Sport category to get the GT4 class. And slowly, because they are in the States more than they are in Canada, we would like to have all the Canadian teams come with us, and we could have the TCR GT4 classes running together, because performance-wise, they're not that far from each other, so it makes the show even nicer to watch. So if we could have like a decent GT4 field and a decent TCR field all together, naturally separated, because they're slightly more performant and on the GT4 side than the TCR side, but that would be an amazing show to watch.
As well, it becomes a good proving ground for those that want to step up into racing in the States, because the one thing that a lot of people don't quite get is how aggressive it can get in the States. So if you really hone your racecraft up here, then when somebody gets aggressive with you in the States, you're either going to give him the space, or you're going to give him the same as he's looking to give you. So you've brought yourself to a level that's going to make you more competitive once you head to the States. And I think it's good to try and, keep the package very similar, because who's to say that if, it used to be that they would come to GP3R and race. So if there was another race here, either a weekend before or a weekend after, why couldn't some of these Americans come and race with us?
Yes, absolutely.
It just, money-wise, it becomes a lot more affordable when you do stuff like that and plan it properly. So Anything else you want to tell us?
We're trying to see where or when we will be able to fully extend racing, to fully have a schedule that could be more in a normal capacity. And beyond that, I think if not next year, the year after that, then we'll be able to really show what we can do. And I think it's going to be quite exciting because we're getting more and more demand. And like people call us all the time. They like the TCR car is very popular in the racing community. So and that's pretty good. And it's across it's all over the world. There's 37 TCR series around the world. So
there's lots of them available when you go on the internet and do
yeah.
TCR for sale, and you can have your pick and choice. And
yeah,
they may be not this year's specifications, but you know, some of these people are selling their cars with spares packages like you wouldn't believe. You know,
yeah.
10 sets of wheels, spare engine, spare sequential, and all sorts of stuff. So. I think the huge I love the fact that the TCR cars look like real race cars with wider bodies and some aero and stuff. One of my upcoming articles is actually going to talk about TCR, and where I don't believe it should be such a one-sourced thing, whereas nearly all of the TCR cars are built in Europe or Japan, and you have to buy your wheels from this guy, where we're in North America, and if you need a set of wheels and you can't get them from Europe, what do? You know, there are people in North America that can supply wheels for these.
Yes.
The same thing for brakes. It's not a GT class, so therefore I don't believe it needs to be as homologated as much, but it's still, I think, a solid class to get people in, and, you know, if they want to go up the steps of the ladder, they can, but if they don't, it's still a fun car for them to drive.
Yes.
I know that the Blanchette boys went and ran the 3-hour race at Mosport a couple of weeks ago, and that was in their TCR car. So...
Yeah. Unfortunately, Damon had an incident, but it was a very good car when they decided to make that decision to go from their previous race car to the TCR. The change was amazing. It's like the team went from having issues all the time to, oh my God, we're there, we're with everybody. You know, it's a big change, and because it's supported by the manufacturers. The BOP is all even. You know, it's a good choice for sure. And to answer your question previously, why the parts and everything is all in Europe, like I said, there's 37 series around the world, mainly across the ocean. So it's probably why the supplies are more over there than here, but we are working with some partners. It's not impossible to become a TCR partner, so some are working to become a parts distributor, or you know, to be involved in the TCR, because there's a big market there.
Oh, absolutely.
So and we have some partners that are working to become. I imagine it's going to take years, but because testing and BOP, what does that affect? You know, there's engineers involved also, but it's not impossible. So it's a positive way to look at it.
Well, that's great. And what I'd like to do is, everyone at Motorworks Magazine wants to wish both yourself and John in your new endeavours, and all the best. And we look forward to watching with interest and coming back and seeing some really good racing.
Thank you, and thank you for having us as well.